Welcome to I Read It, where we feature a new cool story every day. Subscribe to the channel and tap the notifications bell for new content. In today's story, Fire Me Anytime tells us how he used malicious compliance to get paid for doing nothing for the whole year. Here's a way I used malicious compliance to get paid for doing nothing for the next year, while dedicating my efforts to the success of the competitors of the people who are paying me. The setting: office of a small plumbing company offering residential and commercial services, 6 days per week plus emergency service after hours and Sundays. 3 employees that handle dispatching technicians, invoicing, scheduling, parts ordering, etc. We all have the same skill set and cover each other's backs. Technically, we've all been hired as dispatchers. Take note. Administrative stuff like payroll, accounts receivable, accounts payable, marketing are all done at head office, which has another 2 locations just like ours. The cast: OP, 30s guy, single, no kids, very flexible schedule. Smashley, late 20s, single mom raising 3 brats between 5 and 10 years old. Constantly leaving early and missing days due to motherhood duties, doctor appointments, school meetings, etc. Howard, older than dirt, I think he helped Noah build the ark. Has even more elderly parents with dementia, and has an arrangement with his sister. He lives with his parents on Friday to Saturdays, and works Monday to Thursday. Not available on the weekend under any circumstances. His sister lives with the parents Monday to Thursday. Howard doesn't need the job, but if he leaves, then his sister will offload some of these days onto his plate, and he's having none of that. Alex. You'll meet him later. So, the way this worked was Howard would come in at 6 a.m. and work until 2:30 p.m., Monday to Thursday. Smashley would come in and work 9 a.m. to 3 p.m., Monday to Friday, after getting her kids off to school, and leaving early to pick them up. She would cover the weekends remotely from home. She also came in at 6 a.m. on Fridays, since Howard wasn't in. I would come in at 11 a.m., work to 7:30 p.m., Monday to Friday, and cover on-call emergencies after hours. My hours were altered from the 8 to 4:30 in my contract by verbal mutual agreement. I didn't mind, I like to sleep in. All went along fabulously for a couple of years, until Smashley fricked it all up. One of her duties was vetting and submitting timesheets for payroll, and head office noticed that one of the techs was consistently making more than the others. It turned out that Smashley was doing some horizontal dancing with one of the plumbers, and was inflating his hours on the payroll. It all came to light when a customer called for a warranty issue on some work that was done, and we could find no records in our system. The customer insisted that our tech was out, and the lady on the phone had told them that there was a 20% discount for cash. Emails were sent to head office, GPS records of the truck were examined, and their little scheme was discovered. She was puffing hours for the plumber, and they were making money on cash side jobs on the weekend. Both were fired for cause, and Smashley was stuck trying to raise 3 kids with no job and no unemployment. So now it's just me and Howard. HR and owner called us into a meeting and explained that Smashley was no longer employed. We worked out a temporary arrangement for scheduling until a 3rd person could be added to the team. Howard would work as usual Monday to Thursday, staying until 4. He would redispatch any late calls, which we would try to avoid. The field supervisor for the plumbers would take after-hours calls directly. I would work Wednesday to Sunday, and come in at 8 a.m. and work until my regular close time. I would redispatch the plumber's first calls on Thursday nights. I covered after-hours calls Wednesday to Sunday. We were assured that this was a temporary arrangement until a replacement for Smashley could be found. She was let go last May. With only 2 people covering the office, neither Howard nor I could take any time off, as there was nobody to cover. September 1st. Enter Alex. Alex was brought into the picture to handle administrative stuff, which admittedly, had gotten a little loose when only Howard and I were covering. Things like missing POs on parts orders, missing packing slips, reports of revenue and expenses being incomplete, that sort of thing. We were far too busy just trying to keep things running shorthanded to deal with any of this stuff. Howard and I were also told that Alex would cover the dispatch board if required. He was an A. He came into the shop claiming that he had been brought in to whip us into shape. I couldn't stand him from the beginning. Abrupt, aggressive, and with a vocabulary that used a lot of swear words. Just a D. Whatever. Let him handle the outward-facing stuff, dealing with vendors, ordering parts, fleet maintenance, all that. He also handled timesheets for payroll and reporting to head office. Fine. I am good with that, and if I have to deal with his bulls for a couple hours 3 days a week, fine. I only worked under the same roof with him Wednesday to Friday, from 11 a.m. until his departure around 5 p.m. It was endurable. I had requested time off twice after he arrived, and had been denied both times. Worthy of note is that my contract specified 3 weeks holiday a year, and up until he arrived, I had only taken 2 days off in the spring. Fast forward to late November. If anything, Alex had gotten worse. He was really getting under my skin, and I had just about had enough. I have a teensy issue with anger, and it was becoming more and more difficult to rein in my rage and kick the S out of him. Then came the straw that broke the camel's back. I looked at my pay stub and saw that I was short 5 hours. I get paid, not only for the hours I am scheduled, but also for time I put in covering after-hours emergency calls. This routinely put me up around 46 to 48 hours a week, with overtime after 44 hours. So, these 5 hours I was short were overtime hours. I went to Alex on the Friday payday and asked for an explanation. He replied that he had been directed to bring overtime down, and if I check my email, I will see a directive that states that under no circumstances is anyone to work overtime in this office. This was clearly directed at me and me only, as Howard only put in 36 hours a week, and didn't cover on-call. So why am I short 5 hours on this pay? I deducted 30 minutes each day for lunch. But I don't take a lunch. I just eat a sandwich at my desk. Doesn't matter. I can take 30 minutes off your pay each day as unpaid break time. It's the letter of the law. But I actually work these hours. Are you serious? You're deducting time for breaks I didn't take? It's the letter of the law. You don't like it, take it up with the labor board. I don't have time for this S. Get back to your freaking desk and do your freaking job. Alright, motherfricker. Now it's on. Piss me off all you like, be a D all you like, but frick with my money? You're going to pay. I will frick you over hard. I have a good friend, Eric, that I have known since high school who is an associate at one of the better law firms in town. I invited him out for a few beers and some wings on Sunday night, and asked him if his firm handled stuff like this. You know, it's amazing the amount of advice you can get for a few pieces of chicken and some beer. Monday, I drove across town to a store and bought one of these. They are pretty easy to get, just Google Spy Shop for your city or order one off Amazon. I fiddled around with it, and figured out how to get it to work. On Wednesday, I showed up for work at my usual 11 a.m. start time, and things in the office were business as usual, until 4 p.m. on the dot. I took my sandwich, a Coke, and a paperback novel, and sat in my car. It didn't take long. About 10 after 4 Alex comes storming into the parking lot and demands to know exactly what the frick I am doing. Taking my lunch break, I replied. The phones are ringing off the hook, Jeff needs to process a credit card payment, and Mike is just about to clear his call. I need you back in there right now. Sorry Alex, but if you're not paying me for my break time, then I am not working through my break time. Either you handle it, or I'll take care of it in, checks countdown timer on cell phone, 17 minutes. And then I rolled the window back up. It was beautiful. Alex turned red and stomped back into the office. When I returned, he demanded to know what the hell I thought I was up to. I am entitled to a 30-minute unpaid break. You took that time off my timesheet, so now I am taking my break. I am entitled to it. It's the letter of the law. He sputtered, but had no response, so I went back to my desk. 5 minutes later I get an email instructing me to take my break before 2 p.m., so I can be back at my desk before Howard leaves for the day. I replied to his email, BCC copying the owner of the company and HR. I replied that I was unable to do so because, as per labor law, I was not entitled to a lunch break until 5 hours into my shift. Therefore, I would continue to be away from my desk for 30 minutes beginning at 4 p.m. I even snipped and pasted a paragraph from the labor board website to support my position. He came into my office and chewed me out at length. I wouldn't budge. I told him, it's the letter of the law, if you have a problem with it, take it up with the labor board. On Thursday, just after Alex left for the day, I composed and sent him an email, again BCC copying an owner and HR. I explained that I had agreed to changing my hours on a temporary basis until a third person could be added to the office. I also agreed to continue to work them until the transition was complete. As Alex was now firmly in the groove, I now withdraw my consent to the change of hours as contractually specified, and beginning Monday, would revert to the hours in my contract. Friday, I show up at 11 a.m. and Alex is waiting for me with a printout of the email. HR and owner have been calling me, what the frick is this all about? Simple. When I was hired, my hours were in the contract. Monday to Friday, 8 a.m. to 4:30 p.m. They were changed by verbal agreement. Well, I withdraw my consent, and stand on the hours specified in my contract. Frick that. You work the same hours until I tell you differently. The hours of service in the contract are the letter of the law, contract law. If you want to change the hours, we can always renegotiate the contract. You want to alter the hours? Fine, then I want to alter my rate of pay. There was a flurry of emails. He would send them to me, and I would copy HR and owner on my replies, since he wasn't copying them in at all. So, I worked Sunday, as usual, then showed up Monday at 8 a.m. Howard asked me what the hell was going on, because Alex was badmouthing me all over the place, to him and to the techs. One thing you should know is that a good dispatcher in the service industry is a rare thing. There are trucking dispatchers, and taxi dispatchers, and tow truck dispatchers, but finding one that knows how to balance plumbers and customers and solve problems is tough. I get along with all my plumbers and they are asking me what's happening. I take the high road and basically reveal nothing. I get along with these guys quite well. Towards early afternoon I send Alex an email explaining that there are some late calls. How late do you need me to work? He replies, until the calls are run. Perfect. So, I end up working until 6:30. Same on Tuesday, but 7 p.m. Wednesday, too. Sent emails both days, and Alex told me to stay both times. He replied to me only, and I sent an okay email reply copying the bosses in. By Thursday morning, I had racked up 39.5 hours. 38 were in the office, and 1.5 hours taking after-hours calls. About 10 a.m. I sent an email, again copying the bigwigs, and detailing my hours for the week, explaining that at 12:30 p.m. I would have a total of 44 hours, and as per Alex's directive of such and such a date prohibiting overtime, I was left with no choice but to go home. Just before I hit send I turned to Howard and said, "You might want to make some popcorn." Alex comes storming in, and demands to know what the frick. Well, Alex, I am only following your directive. You said no overtime, right? Well, as of 12:30, I will be on overtime. Unless you say different, then I have to go. So, it's either rescind the no overtime, or I head out. Your call. Alex is now fricked. He's been told to dial back on the overtime, and now he's going to have to pay me out for half of Thursday, all of Friday, and all of Saturday. Or cover the dispatch board himself. Work the fricking weekend, god. You miserable frick. You'll pay for this ass. Okay, I need that in writing. And I can't work Sunday, you have to. Listen, you little s, you don't tell me when I have to work, I tell you when you have to work, and you're working Sunday. Nope. Labor law says specifically that I get 1 day off in 7. I can show you. Since I worked last Sunday, and I am working every other day this week, I get this coming Sunday off. It's the letter of the law. Howard can't work it, I can't work it, so I guess you have to. But my kid has a tournament on Sunday. Can't you bend the rules? Sorry, it's the letter of the law. Alex was a real treat to be around for Thursday and Friday, I assure you. And my little spy pen recorded every word out of his mouth. Monday, I come in, I think this was the 26th of November, and the owner, and HR, and Alex are waiting for me. Owner and HR want to know what the hell is going on. They are getting reports that I am being insubordinate and threatening to abandon my job. Alex wants to can me, and up until 2 weeks ago I was a model employee. I explain everything, and refer them to the emails that I copied them in on. They ask what started this whole mess, and I told them that Alex had said he was told to reduce overtime, and took time off my check that I had actually worked. He demanded that I go back to work on my break, and that I schedule my break 3 hours into my shift. I laid it all out. Owner gave Alex the stink eye and said, "I never told you to dial back overtime." They asked me if I would be willing to go back to the hours I was working before. We can discuss it, but since this would be a major change to my employment contract, we will need to renegotiate it. Including my rate of pay. Can you go back to those hours, and then we'll schedule a meeting? No, thank you. If I revert to previous hours then you have no reason to schedule a meeting. We do the meeting first, then once we have a deal, you get the hours changed. Let us talk about it, we'll get back to you. Okay, but you need to discuss this soon. I am taking the last 3 weeks of December as vacation time. Alex explodes, with owner and HR right there. You're not taking any freaking vacation without my approval, and I'm not approving a goddamn freaking minute of vacation for you. I turn to owner and HR. By labor law, I am entitled to vacation time yearly. By contract law, I am entitled to 3 weeks. So far, I have taken 2 days this year. I have requested vacation twice, and Alex denied it both times. I couldn't take it in between when you fired Smashley and hired Alex, because there were only 2 of us in the office. I get 3 weeks a year, and we are coming up to the end of the year. Company policy is use them or lose them, so I am using them. HR says, we'll pay you out the accrued vacation time. I look at her and reply, I don't agree to your offer. I am entitled to the time. I want the time, not the money. She thinks for a minute and says, we'll roll it over into the new year. I don't agree to your offer. I am entitled to the time this year, not next year. Alex pipes up, but Howard already has 2 weeks booked off. And I'm taking my family to Florida. You can't take the time, there's nobody to run the shop. What? You're going to Florida? So, you expect me to run the entire show, alone, work 7 days a week, and you send an email saying no overtime. Are you freaking serious? Back to owner and HR. Look, I had to work a full year before I was entitled to a vacation. All of the plumbers have to work a full year before they are entitled to a vacation. Labor law says you have to work a full year before you're entitled to a vacation. And he's telling me that I am not allowed to take my vacation because he's going to Florida, and he's only been here for 3 months. Is that what I am hearing here? You guys told me to hold off on vacation time until we got a third person, points at Alex. Well, there he is, right there, and I am taking the vacation I am entitled to. No payout. No rollover. And if you want to renegotiate my contract, it can wait until the new year. And I stormed out of the office. I don't know what the rest of the meeting was like, but about an hour later Alex starts chewing me out again, saying how he's out thousands of dollars and now he has to tell his kids that they are not going to Disney World. Calls me every name in the book. The next 2 weeks were hell. What an calling me names, telling me he won't rest until I am out on my A, telling me I'm the worst piece of crap he ever worked with. So, I took my vacation time, didn't do a damn thing, didn't travel, just kicked back and relaxed, and spent time with my parents over the holidays. I get back in January and there's a new face sitting at my desk, and Alex is there with a s-eating grin and my separation papers. HR put laid off rather than fired, so I had that going for me, which was nice. Now where I live, if someone calls a former employer for a reference, all the former employer is permitted to say is the timeframe the former employee worked there, and whether or not he would be eligible for rehire. So, a few days into January, Alex gets a phone call. Hi Alex, my name is Eric, and we're looking at OP's resume here. He says you were his most recent employer. You're on speaker, what can you tell us about him? Alex goes off like a stick of dynamite, calling me every name in the book, saying that I was a horrible worker, lying about missing time, telling all sorts of bulls. I let him go on and on. Hey Alex. Recognize my voice. He stops his ranting. Yeah. You fricker. I know your voice. Ever hear of the law offices of Dewey, Screw'em, Ober and Howe? They're lawyers. And this call is being placed from their conference room. Nice talking to you, Alex. The next call we're making is to owner, and getting his lawyer's name. It took a while, but a meeting got scheduled with owner, HR, Alex, owner's lawyer, me and Eric. Eric explained that I was starting a claim for wrongful dismissal, and this meeting was to explore the possibility of a settlement. We laid out everything. Every email, a timeline of events, and then the piece de la resistance. A supercut of the audio of Alex yelling, threatening, ranting, and just being Alex. It was beautiful. Alex went white. The owner stared at him the whole time like he wanted to erase him from the face of the earth. They asked us to excuse them for a few minutes, so Eric and I went for a coffee and chuckled. They texted us within 20 minutes to return. Owner's lawyer explained that they were admitting no liability or wrongdoing, but that, as a gesture of goodwill, they were willing to offer me 3 months severance, if I would sign a waiver. Eric smiled, declined, and then played the tape from the conference room about the reference. He also mentioned that he was present at the time, and so were 2 of his colleagues, and all were willing to file affidavits to that effect. Another break. We came back, and they upped the offer to 6 months. We countered with 2 years severance. Eventually we settled on 15 months, with me to collect a check every 2 weeks, as if I was employed, based on an average of my hours for the past 6 months of my employment. And I had racked a lot of overtime in those 6 months. They even tried to stick a clause prohibiting me from working for anyone in the same industry while the deal was in effect, but Eric spotted it and had it struck out. My skill set is in demand, and it didn't take long for me to find another job, doing the same thing, but for one of their competitors. It's awesome. These guys pay me on one Friday, and my working job pays me on the next. I am racking up savings like you wouldn't believe, and Eric was pretty gentle with his billing. Alex? He was canned in no time, and between me and owner's network of contacts, the rumor mill has basically made him untouchable. He's still looking for a job, as far as I know. I did tell my new employer to ask in his resume if they ever got one. But if I ever get a phone call asking me for a reference for Alex, all I can tell them is that I worked with him for 4 months in 2018. I can't say more than that. It's the letter of the law. What do you think about this story? Let me know in the comments section. Help us grow so more people will join us. Thank you for watching this video, and we will see you in the next one. Bye.